Elevated Grapes Podcast.
Elevated Grapes Podcast.
With your host, Sethi.
Your host, Sethi.
And Stylist Rashi Bindra.
It's time to get started.
Let's talk fashion, shall we? Alright everyone, welcome to Elevated Grapes. I am your host, Sethi.
And this is fashion consultant and stylist Rashi Bindra. We are your co-hosts for today's very exciting episode, and we have a very special guest. Go for it!
It's like a Broadway show. Go for it! Yeah. Rashi started this new thing where she has this new introduction, but then there's a whole bunch of hand movements that go along with it, and it just gets really exciting. So we have Klaudia with us, and she is a director with the Fashion Group International, and there's a specific title to the director, regional director.
Yes.
With them, she's also a professor in colleges and teaches about fashion. Mm-hmm. There's so many titles here, and then she's also a director with TFA. And again, there's a very specific type of director.
Director of Corporate Relations.
There you go. So
yes, we got that.
She's a woman of there was a test before.
Woman of many jobs.
Well, she wears a lot of hats, all fashion industry related. Yes. So we're very honored to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And this is our chance to sit down with her and talk to her about the industry and talk to her about her experiences. So I think we should just start with, keep it sort of very basic to start with. But how did you get involved? Like, how did this all happen?
How did this whole thing happen? You know what? It's interesting because my path has been very different. I started out as a math teacher, but when I started out as a math teacher, I love fashion. And back then, there weren't opportunities like there is nowadays, right? So
there's math in fashion.
There is math in fashion, but you know what, like there wasn't a lot in the fashion industry. Like you think about now with social media and blogging, and there's so many opportunities now that you can do. There weren't that many opportunities back then. So I started as a math teacher, and then I ended up working for the NBA for several years, then went into broadcasting, and then went into publishing. And then it wasn't until I went into publishing and I started working at Flair magazine, I was like, okay, this is my love again. And that's where the fashion kind of kicked back in.
Now, was fashion always something a part of your personal brand when you were doing these other jobs?
You know what? It always was. Like, even honestly, you ask any of my friends in high school, I was that girl that would always coordinate everything. Yes. So my socks would coordinate with my jewelry, which coordinated with, my earrings. Like, I was that girl. And I would always look at the latest trends and watch Jeannie Becker, and then I would go to like Michael's or Fabricland, and I would create my own thing. So I was always very fashion inclined, even at a young age. So, even in my other jobs that I did, I always dressed the way that my own personal style. Right. So it's always been a part of me. So it's interesting to see now that everything's kind of come full circle, because now I'm heavily involved in the fashion industry, but I'm also teaching. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds of where I started and where my passion was together.
So did the teaching component come in after you started doing work in the industry, or was that one of the first steps?
Well, I started teaching for a couple of years in mathematics, and then I left it for a while when I did my other career jobs. And then eventually I came back now, and now I'm a professor teaching in the fashion program at the business school for Humber, and I also teach at Sheridan and other colleges as well. So I teach fashion. I also teach marketing and public relations.
Yeah, so, which I love. And that speaks to all the roles and work you do, and the way you're building the Toronto fashion community almost all over again, I feel, since it has gone through so many changes. Yeah. But that's a good thing. Sometimes you have to do that. Someone has to do that.
Yeah. You got to shake up the industry, really, and that's what we're all about.
So your role as regional director with FGI, that's a little bit more recent. I mean, I know you were involved with them for quite some time, but
so I've been on the board. Yeah, I've been on the board for 2 years, and I officially got announced on January 21st.
Congratulations!
Thank you. So it's a 2-year term. I'm super excited about it. It was something that when I became part of the Fashion Group International 2 years ago, I honestly loved the organization. I love the fact that it was global. I love the fact of what they do and how they empower people and how they help educate the community. So I was just like, okay, I really want to get involved on a more deeper level. So when the opportunity became available for regional director, I was just so proud to be nominated and be chosen. So really excited.
And what's your vision for Fashion Group International? Especially because, again, like you said, it's global.
It is.
We do have a Toronto chapter. We have a New York chapter. We have so many chapters.
We do,
everywhere. So what's your...
So we're in 7 countries.
Yes.
And we have 29 chapters all over the world. And so for mine, my whole vision is really 3 words that I've kind of narrowed it down to. And that's really to elevate, to educate, and empower. So my whole goal for our community, which I call now my Fashion Group International family, so once you become a member, you become part of our family, is really to help you elevate your business, take it to the next level, to educate you on how to be able to market your business, how to be a better entrepreneur, to be able to learn things about the industry that you may not learn from experts in the industry, but also to empower you. So to empower you to be able to always develop and grow both personally and professionally. So those are kind of my 3 goals for this year with everything that we're doing in terms of our programs and initiatives.
So if you look at what Fashion Group International was doing prior to you taking over as regional director, what are some of the things that you're going to implement or change from just like an event, or like the day-to-day, like looking at your 3 pillars that you've just mentioned?
So one of the things that I've added this year, which hasn't been done before, is Fashion Group International has always been focused on fashion design.
Yeah.
So mainly fashion design. That's really been their core of their business. So what I've brought this year is a little bit of a different element where I'm not just looking at fashion, I'm looking at everything that touches fashion. So if you take a look at, for example, a beautiful fashion photo spread in a magazine, right? It's not just about the clothes. It's about the clothes. It's about the hair. It's about the makeup. It's about the background and the direction of the photo shoot. It's the photographer, the videographer, the content creator, right? So many people touch that. So just being able to really incorporate all that. So what I'm doing this year is it's not just fashion, but it's now fashion, it's beauty, it's film, it's, being able to incorporate even interior design because that's the decor of the setting, and being able to touch on an art. So, for example, like at the end of this month, we're doing an event where it's called The Art of Fashion. So it's really talking about the intersection of artists who really have started to incorporate a lot of the fashion into their art pieces and being able to celebrate that, as well as designers who create beautiful things that are almost like a piece of art that people wear. So just being able to showcase like the incredible talent, as well as fashion illustrators who, create beautiful hand drawings of beautiful illustrations that are fashion related as well. So being able to celebrate that and learn from it as well.
Yeah, that's my weakness. I won't lie, the fashion illustrations. I have a few at home.
Do you? I would love to see that.
I will send my pictures.
That would be amazing.
I love it. I love fashion. I love those things. It's just so like empowering in its own way to just see that art out there. I love it. It's
another angle of being creative. So again, it's not just about fashion design and creating a beautiful gown. It's really being able to do these beautiful watercolors to create this beautiful pieces of art. And now you see too, a lot of artists, they create things and they put like the Gucci and the Louis Vuitton, the Chanel, and they're starting to incorporate a lot of the brands into their art pieces, right? Because they're inspired by that. And, we have some amazing designers right now, like Art of Marina, for example. Marina started out as a watercolor artist and did these beautiful portraits and paintings, and now she's transferring that into these gorgeous kimonos where she takes her beautiful work.
I've seen
what you've seen me wear, right?
Absolutely.
So again, it's again that intersection between art and fashion. So being able to do that, and we have another designer who actually takes recycled plastic from bottles and she hand carves them and makes them into these beautiful flowers that makes these bustiers and bodices that are made into these gorgeous dresses out of recycled fabric. So it's amazing to see the creativity behind it.
Yeah.
So with Fashion Group International having such as it names as an international exposure, how important do you think that is for these local designers that you're working with to get access to all that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the benefits of being part of our family is that you get access to our directory. Our directory has over 5,000 members globally. So once you become part of our family, you really become part of the global family. So if you happen to be in London, if you happen to be even in Dominican, we have location there. If you happen to be in New York for New York Fashion Week, you have access to all of that. So you have access to all of our members. You have access to all of our locations. If there's anything that is happening there in terms of an initiative, a program, an educational seminar, industry panel, you would be able to go and be able to attend that. So it's really a great way to be able to not only build your brand locally, but also because you can network amazing, here at all of our events, but also to be able to network yourself internationally.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So one of the things I find with a lot of designers and a lot of entrepreneurs here is that they want to build their business globally. What better way of doing that than to belong to an organization that's global and having access to all these people that you can actually now connect with and be able to say, okay, I would love to collaborate with you. I would love to grow my business in this location. How do I go about doing that?
Well, feet on the ground is everything, right?
Oh, 100%. So that's what it allows you. It allows you that kind of gateway to be able to do that.
So speaking, did you have a question about that?
No.
Oh, so I was going to say.
Add my comments.
Oh, please go ahead.
Oh, please go ahead. No, I was just going to go back to your point where it's so important, I think, to have that push, right? Because you can be so talented, so creative, have that biggest vision, but sometimes you, like you said, you need a family. You need the right push. You always need a team behind you to get to like where you want to like get in life. And I think that's what I personally love about FGI, which is I think we've always been involved in it. So I don't know. I personally am.
Well, I think it's also just the comfort level. If you're gonna grow a brand and you want to build the partnerships and you want the people that are there to support you, you want the right kind of people and the people you can trust. If you're going to a new territory or a new country and you want to grow your fashion brand there, it's like, okay, I'm going to walk into this place, but I don't know anybody and I don't have the connections, and and if it's coming from the group, within the group, it kind of creates that automatic comfort level.
Well, and that's why it really becomes a family. That's part of the reason why, when I first announced, at the annual general meeting, I said, you help your family out. So when you become family, you help your family out. Yeah. So if somebody needs something, you're going to help your family. Or if you need a videographer or photographer, you look within your family to see who's available that could help you out. And at the end of the day, we're all here to help each other. We're all here to build our business, to make money, to be able to grow and be successful. So what better way, instead of going externally, what better way than to be able to do it within your family and being able to help one another out. So you benefit from it because now you're getting some business, and they benefit from it because they're getting whatever it is that they need, right? So it's a win-win on both. So that's why I always say, I think that's why it's so important for us to build each other as not just a community, because of course we are, but I think when you see it as a family, that's the first thing you're going to do is you're going to help each other out as that.
So we're gonna jump topics a little bit here, because you mentioned something really important, that fashion and art are so closely intertwined.
Yes.
Let's talk about your room right now for a second. Yes. There's a lot of art in here that I see. There's a lot of fashion, there's a lot of art. So
there's no two pairs the same.
I'm gonna move to the side for 1 second just so you can see what's going on behind me. But there's all these purses too. It's not just the shoes. So let's talk about. We'll start with the shoes, because I think that's the highlight of this room. I mean, there's some clothes that's, like, it's very overwhelming when you walk in. I don't think the camera. In a great way. Like,
I should have taped your face when you walked.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap. And so the camera probably doesn't do it justice. Just to see, we'll take a couple of pan shots so that we can have it in there. But if you just take, like, so help me understand your
my shoe fetish.
Yeah, well, like how do you come up with what you want to buy, how you want to look? Like, is it just based on outfits? Is it based on there's some with wings? There's all these things happening. So just talk to us about that.
Yeah, so you know what? I mean, my collection started probably about, I don't know, I want to say maybe 7 years ago. And you'll never see two pairs the same. The way that I do it is it's really my aesthetic. So as you can tell, I have various styles. But it's just really what appeals to me. Like, sometimes I'll see something and it might be, I feel like sparkle, or there might be a really cool detail. Like, my absolute favorites.
You want to speak about sparkle?
I love my sparkles. You know how much I love my sparkles. But, so some of them have a lot of sparkles, but really it's all about the detail. So there might be something about that shoe that has a really cool detail, whether it's like a fringe, or it has some really beautiful rhinestones, or it has a chain design. Like, my favorite, for example, are my Sophia Webster wing ones. Those are like my absolute favorite.
Are we allowed to grab one?
Yeah, you can grab that one if you want there with the butterfly wings. Yeah, that's totally fine. So, like, these are my absolute favorite.
It's like a museum in here. You gotta ask before you touch anything.
Yeah, so, just like, I love this. This is one of my favorite designs. It's got the holographic kind of design to it. So I have like 4 pairs of these, but
they're on both sides.
They're on both sides.
They fly back.
So the way that I've organized it is that I have all my neutrals, then I have my black and gold, then my Louboutins are on these 2 sides, and then
they get their own section.
They get their own section.
They have to.
And then it goes black and silver, and then it goes into color. So when I get dressed in the morning, depending on what I'm wearing, I'll be able to coordinate really quickly based on the color.
So just for your
please go ahead.
Your knowledge.
I know that's where you're going to jump in, so I'm going to sit back and relax a little bit.
This is what girls aspire to. So when women want things from guys, and when you tell me that, your future husband, this is part of the deal. This whole package.
Even as a guy, I would love a shoe room. Like, it may be different kinds of shoes. Than
you would actually benefit from one, knowing your shoe collection.
So let's talk about you for a second. So if you had a shoe room, would it look similar? What would you do differently? What would you do with your shoe room?
Mine be very, very similar to like Carrie Bradshaw's in the first set and the City movie where she opens it and there's like a couch in there and then there's the mirror and you know what I mean, and it's like literally like you just walk in and you just see shoes.
Well, there literally was like there's a ottoman that sits here, like she has it down like packed. She could sit in here for a while and just.
This is my happy place.
I fully understand that. Yeah, I fully get that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you a really difficult question about this room. Which was the first shoe that you remember that started this room? Because it had to have started.
I'll tell you.
Oh, you do know this.
Posted on my Instagram.
Okay, so you do know this.
Yes.
Okay.
It is. My first one actually is on your side. It is my Sophia Webster Butterfly Silver. Yep, those were the... So when I first had this room built, what I did was on my Instagram, I actually posted these alone on all empty shelves, and I just had these ones as my
that must have been quite. That's art.
It was a moment.
It's art.
It was a moment.
Yeah, that's art.
Because you know why? It was like, you know when the butterfly lands?
Yeah.
And we had just bought this house, so it was like the butterfly has landed into.
I love
that. Was that part of the deal for buying this house? Like there has to be a shoe room?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a full.
It was definitely a selling feature for sure.
Yeah,
you know, and the way that it worked out really beautifully. So we were able to fit all my shoes in here so far. Although we may have a problem when it starts to...
Well, I was going to say, like, it seems like you're coming really close to having it filled.
We're at 396 right now.
296
shoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's probably a couple more you can fit in. Maybe. If you really try. Then what happens?
Then I start to purge. So then I start to take out the ones that are, getting a little older and they get donated, and then new ones come in.
I feel like I saw a tear.
I know, right?
Like, I feel like you're getting sensitive just talking about it.
It's hard to get rid of, ones that, but, I do. I'm pretty good at being able to purge some of the ones I don't.
What's your shoe size again?
It's size 8.
Damn it.
7.5.
Damn it.
What size are you?
9.
Oh. Yeah,
maybe some of the open toe ones.
Yeah, maybe.
Stretch your foot in.
You never want to do that. You don't.
I'm joking. I'm not suggesting it at all.
You don't want your toes to hang off.
Why would you say that?
Well, just
No,
because there's some really nice shoes here. Maybe you want to.
That's worse than a horror movie. That's like worse than like that Chucky horror movie. You know what I mean? Like those are shoes.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm very mesmerized by the style, the different styles of shoes.
Yeah, they're all different. They're like my personality, right? Depending on my favorite.
And if you do follow we'll just mention again what your Instagram is.
It's Claudia's Fashion Fix.
Okay, so
We'll put those links.
Yeah, I'll put the link, but just so for those that are listening, if they want to check it while they're listening, she has a ton of pictures of her shoe closet on there, and each and every one is better than the last. Like you keep looking at them, like holy crap, I want this.
And stories. I love seeing your stories because you post like about your feet and your shoes and your manicure sometimes, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is like Carrie Bradshaw in Toronto.
It's real life. Yeah, it's real life.
It's real life Carrie Bradshaw because she was also a writer. She was in fashion, and then you worked in publishing, and then you have your shoe closet. So it's very similar paths there.
She does do it all. Okay, so back to our fashion industry. Sorry, I was like, I wanted to start with that. We got caught up in the rest of the conversation, but I'm like, let's get this in here because this is so important. So back to the fashion industry. So now, FGI, TFA, you're a professor at colleges. Like you're doing a lot of great things. I mean, so you have a good handle on various different aspects of the industry. Mm-hmm. What do you sort of see the industry doing? Like, where do you see it going? We're going to talk about Toronto first, and then your scope based on your exposure to the international scene as well.
Yeah, well, Toronto's got incredible talent. I've always said that. And
yes,
I think
a lot of amazing local designers.
We really do. And I think we don't brag enough about ourselves. I don't think we promote ourselves as strong as we could. And, we had platforms before like Toronto Fashion Week and so on and so forth to do that. But obviously with the inconsistency of that hasn't been very, easy for a lot of designers. But I just think, we need to do a better job in terms of whether it's collaborating with other organizations or being able to find more platforms or opportunities to really kind of celebrate the talent that we have here. Because I think it's important for designers to brag more. And I think the way that we are, because we're so Canadian, we wait for people to recognize us. We wait for people to go, oh my God, that was a great collection. That was so nice. As opposed to us saying, man, I did amazing. That was a phenomenal collection that I did. So I think we need to do a better job in terms of getting the designers to talk more about their brand and being able to promote themselves, but also being able to give them that support. So give them those platforms, give them those opportunities to be able to showcase. So whether it be something through FGI where, we provide them an opportunity to showcase their work, or whether we feature them on our website or at our events, anything that we can do to help them elevate that brand, I think is really important. Just in terms of nationally and getting that exposure, and then being able to give them the windows of opportunity for them to be able to showcase internationally, because a lot of them want to be able to go to like the US or go overseas and don't know how to do that, how to go about doing that. But the last thing we want to do is we don't want to lose talent. We don't want people to feel like they're not getting the support here, and therefore they have to go to the US or they have to go internationally in order to get that support. And that's one of the things that's a really big challenge that we're trying to overcome right now. So like one of the things I'm doing this year is I'm working with other organizations. So I'm reaching out to all of the different companies. So whether it's Fashion Arts Toronto that's going to be collaborating with us at our next event, whether it's sitting with CAFA and being able to see what we can do with CAFA, being able to talk to Indigenous Fashion Week and African Fashion Week, and let's see what we can do together collectively. Because the more we collaborate and stand together, we are so much stronger when we stand together as opposed to standing against each other or doing our own little thing in our own little pods. So I think by unifying us together, then we could be so strong in such a unified front, not just for our Toronto industry, but also putting Canada on the map and keeping us on the map.
And from your experience, why do you think we are at this point where, and yes, we've always had amazing talent here, but unfortunately, it's not been consistent. It's not been shown the way it is, and there've always been rumblings about designers not getting paid their due or making their due, and sometimes it's also like other components of the fashion industry saying that, which is, it's sad to hear, right? Because there's so much that we can offer, yet it just doesn't get translated to what we want, and then we start comparing ourselves to what's happening in New York even, which is because it's literally right there for us, right? And that's more so our competition, quote unquote, and inspiration at the same time. So why do you think we've come to that point where now we have to almost restart that fashion trust again? I call it that. So
I think there's a couple of things. I think first of all, we need more support from Ontario or Canada as a whole. I feel like we're not getting as much support as we could. And back when Fashion Week was really strong, we had sponsorship support, we had city support. So we had a lot of support that was helping fund that, so that it kept Toronto on the map and kept the economy really strong. And, nowadays we're having difficulty. We're having difficulty with getting funding from the city or from the province. We're also having difficulty getting funding from sponsors. And I think that's part of the reason why it's struggled in terms of being able to survive. So that's kind of the first part of it, which I think is really critical in terms of making sure that it stays consistent and stays strong. I think the other part too is really educating the consumers here to buy locally and to support the Canadian fashion industry, because as nowadays everything is so accessible with Amazon and all these sites that you can go on and Alibaba and all, and you can buy fast fashion, or you can go into your regular retail stores and buy stuff for next to nothing. And being able to change people's mindset to say, support your local designers and your artisans, and this is why you should do it, and this is the quality of the work, and this is the hours that go in, and the labor, and the thought process, and the sustainability, and being able to educate the consumers so that when they purchase it, they're not only purchasing to support Canadian industry and the Canadian fashion industry to keep it strong and growing, but also to understand and appreciate why this is costs $40 versus your $5 earrings that you might get at a retail fast fashion chain. So being able to have them understand the difference between the two. And I think if we start doing that a little bit more and educating our consumers, I think that'll start turning things around.
And that's where I'm with you on that a lot more, because I've been very vocal and very passionate about the fact that fast fashion has changed the fashion industry, not necessarily for the better, and I'm still stuck on that, the whole concept of fashion does have an hierarchy. There are stages of fashion. You have to have that beautiful, unreachable fashion almost, but then that's easily accessible, and then like you said, fast fashion, right? And I feel like Toronto had such amazing designers, especially doing MasterCard Fashion Week. I still remember my first show.
We still do.
My first show moving from Montreal to here. My first time I attended, I was like,
wow,
oh my god, I'm in Toronto Fashion Week, and we're waiting in lines to get it. It was just and it just felt so excited about it. And I personally want to see that excitement back in our city, because I think that's just crucial to our success, right? So
some of the things you guys are mentioning here is, having support of our local designers, but it's almost like catch-22, because if we don't have a platform to showcase the local designers, how do we gain mass appeal or mass support for these local designers? Like, how does word get out within the community? You get to know the different designers because they're attending the FGI events and they're involved in the family and the community. But outside of it, to the mass public who don't know that these brands exist,
right?
Like, how do you build that awareness around the availability of it, or the product, or the fact that there is so much talent here?
Well, and it can be done in various different ways. It could be things like, stylists being able to pull from the designers and being able to showcase it in pieces that they're doing, whether they're putting someone in it on the red carpet or whether it's something in a magazine, to keep those names out there and being able to support that as well. And then also being able to, wherever we can, give them a platform. So if we have an event, a great opportunity to be able to showcase them at the event and having them be able to wear the beautiful pieces or be able to showcase their collections there as well, I think is really important. Also, like, whenever we have any type of opportunity in a magazine, being able to, again, collaborate with the designers and being able to showcase them in those different areas as well. So,
and you have brought up a very important point that I think I once I discussed it on our podcast, because I know that he'll say ranted about it.
Yeah.
I discussed it on the podcast.
The word rant is probably more appropriate. It's probably a rant.
And it goes back to the whole stylist and designer relationship. And I find that again, I'm always grateful to everybody who has supported me, but I also feel that I think designers do not still value and understand stylists and art directors in Toronto versus what we see in even let's just take New York, for example, right? Like, not even like London or Paris or that, just our neighbors.
I just want to say she kicked me with her really nice shoes, and I feel so special. No, I feel good. I feel so special. And like the
Gucci.
One of the nice shoes you spotted touched me. I feel so good.
He's like, oh my god, fan club right now. And I feel like we should emphasize that, because I've been in situations where initially it's like, okay, like, here, like, I'm styling it, I'm putting in all the art and the hard work that's involved, and then I'll see the same designer cutting the stylist out and going straight to whether it's the actor or the model or whatever it is. And that's been something that's been repeated so many times. And it's not only just to me. I've heard that from other people with like within our industry. And then if one designer gets featured a couple of times, then suddenly they feel that they need to pull the strings on it, and then you're just like, dude, like, I'm not trying to brag here, but nobody knew how your products could look, because it's like you said, it's a whole team, right?
And that's the thing, it's a give and take, right? And that's really what it comes down to. At the end of the day, it's like, we give opportunities for designers, but at the same time, they have to be willing to give a little bit as well. So you can't just be take and then not be willing to give. So whenever we showcase a designer, which is great, but then when the opportunity comes up where we can be featured or mentioned in some sort, it's got to go both ways.
It's got to be reciprocal.
Absolutely. And like, one of the things too that I wanted to mention is, we're doing an event on March the 7th with Toronto Fashion Week being cancelled, and it's being done through International Fashion Encounter, which is in collaboration with Toronto Fashion Academy. But what we did was, when Toronto Fashion Week got cancelled, we worked with the designers who were like literally finished their collection, ready to showcase in 2 weeks, and told that there's no Toronto Fashion Week. And we were like, okay, come to our event and we'll showcase it at our event. So, even though we had a full roster of designers already ready to go, we allowed that opportunity for a lot of these designers who really had nowhere to show their collection to actually showcase their collection on March the 7th. So, it's a great opportunity for 15 designers to be able to showcase all of their collections in one night.
So we're going to take a quick second break here, and we'll come right back. Hey guys, we're taking a quick break just to remind you where you can find our podcast online.
You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Tunes.
Apple Music, but you call it Apple Tunes.
Whatever.
Right. You can also find us on TuneIn, on Google Play, and of course Instagram when we do it the first Tuesday of every month.
And Facebook, here and there.
Here and there.
Here and there.
So thanks for tuning in, and now back to our podcast. And we're back.
I'm back.
Okay. Is that what you were going to say? And we're back. All right, continue.
So going back to like how you said that you are showcasing now 15 designers at IFE, and I've been involved in it as well.
You have. You've been a stylist.
It's a lot of work.
It's
a lot of work. Even the backstage team. I personally know how crazy it gets backstage, especially when you have to manage each designer and switch and models and stuff. So I sometimes feel, and again, I'm not disrespecting any of the designers, because I've worked with like some of them too. I just feel that they need to start understanding what goes behind in putting them forward. And you know what, if you're a designer, focus on your designs. Let the other people focus on making it look above and beyond, because that's why everybody's good at what they do. Like I cannot be a designer. I have no clue about patterns and this and that. I can put it together. I cannot be a designer, and I don't try and put that foot in my mouth. So I think that's where I feel like if our community in our city can start letting go of those insecurities and focus on their craft, and we build together, we may get to where we really all aspire to be. I don't know, that's just my feeling and experience a little bit.
Well, and the other thing too, and one of the things I say to, and you know, some people don't like me saying this, but to me, it's the truth. And even when George Pimentel, when he was our Visionary Award recipient in October last year, and someone had asked him, about doing things for free. And they were saying, because I work really hard, it's my time, it's my hours, it's my craft. And, I feel like sometimes I'm doing so much for free and I'm not getting paid for it. Like, at what point do I get paid? And I remember him saying clearly to the audience at that point, he was like, sometimes you have to sacrifice that. And it could be a year, could be 2 years, could be 3 years. But sometimes you have to do that. But then once you hit it big and people start to recognize you and recognize your talent and your worth at that point, and you can start charging, the money will come. So sometimes you have to do things, and you know what? You may think, oh God, like, where am I making my money? And you start to charge people, and then you'll notice that people won't come to you anymore. So sometimes you do have to offer things for free, and you have to be willing to sacrifice that. And it could be a 2-year sacrifice, could be 3, but at some point the money will come. So eventually it will come, and you'll be living, very comfortably. But, you do have to sacrifice that at the very beginning until you get your name and your brand out there and people start to recognize who you are. And I think that's sometimes, too, a struggle where people go, okay, I'm in my first year or second year, I want to start making money, I'm going to start charging. And you'll realize that you're actually going to take a further step back by doing that, because people will get turned off by that, because they're giving you an opportunity to showcase your stuff, whether it be in a magazine or on television or whatever. They're giving you a platform to give you free advertising and free mentions and free publicity. And if you're starting to charge that, well, they're going to go to somebody else who's not charging. So you have to be willing to sacrifice sometimes.
And to your point, it also speaks about your work and your experience, and like you said, when you hit a point to know when you're going to charge and how you're going to charge and how you build on that. But I also feel that some of us do think that we are entitled, like within the first year, like you said,
you get
or
all
like
the
first 6 months. It's like I've seen people who just started styling, and you can tell by their work
they have a sense of entitlement,
and they're like, oh, I put creative director, I put stylist. I'm like, why are you butchering what we all do for a living? Like, why are you doing that? Like, you're still a student. Like, you're still new. You know what I mean? Just like focus on just your art for now. Titles and all that stuff comes eventually. Like, I never called myself a bunch of things until very recently when people were like pointing that out. I was like, oh, that's what that means. I didn't even know that. I just like doing this. And I sometimes think that sense of entitlement also does hinder your growth.
And you have to earn it. I mean, at the end of the day, listen, whatever we do, like, we all hustle. We've all been there. I hustle on a daily basis. Like, everybody who's in the industry, especially the fashion industry, is not an easy industry. Like, I tell people all the time, do not think that is easy. Like, at the end of the day, you might see the beautiful runway collection and all that. You have no idea the months of planning, the stress, like everything that's involved, the hours, the blood, sweat, and tears, the hustle behind it. There's a lot of things that are involved. So it's definitely not an easy industry to get into, and it's not for the weak by any means. But, that's the thing. It's like, at the end of the day, there's a sense of knowing that you put your hard work into it and that you earned it, because you really have been trying for so many years, and you've put so much time and effort into it, and dedication and commitment. So, those people who come in right away and expect to get that entitlement, it's not going to work, and it's going to be very short-lived. And it's really, like I tell people all the time, like, you have to earn it. Even my role being regional director, it took me 2 years to get to that role. I didn't walk in and say, okay, I'm on the board, I'm going to be regional director right away. No, like, I had to earn it. I had to prove myself that I was able to take on this role and head an organization that's global, right? So it does. You definitely have to work hard for everything that you go for.
So what do you say to those folks who want to get into the industry, but then they're fearful of this exact thing, that it's going to take me 2 years without making any money, and I'm going to have to sacrifice without an income or any sort of revenue coming in. So what's, that to a lot of people that may be demotivating. They have a passion, but it's like, how do I explore this and how do I get into it without knowing that I'm going to get anything in return, or it's going to take X amount of years before that happens? Like, what's your advice to those people?
I would honestly say, if you're not sure, I would say either intern or volunteer or be involved in an event, whatever it is that your area of expertise that you're interested in, be involved in it and find out what it's really like. Because it's, like I said, it's not for everyone. And sometimes you think it's one thing and then you actually experience a completely different thing. Yeah. So being able to do that, find a great mentor. I'm telling you, finding a great mentor in the industry that can help you on your path or help you navigate the industry is really important. I was very lucky to have a great mentor who really helped me throughout the industry, introduced me to so many people, told me a little bit about what I need to do in order to get on the right career path. And I think that's really critical. And now I'm doing that for other people and helping them navigate.
You're one of mine as well.
I am. And that's the thing. People ask me all the time, like, can you mentor me? And I'm always happy to do it because I was given that privilege. And so I want to be able to give back in any way that I can as well. So, being able to do that, and that would be my advice, is really, I tell my students even that I'm teaching, I give them the opportunity to be a part of an event. And I say, come out and volunteer and see what it's like behind the scenes and backstage. Because when you see that chaos, either you love it and you live off that adrenaline, or you absolutely hate it and think this is so not for me. So being able to experience that firsthand will really help you, but also being able to have someone that you can sit down and go, okay, this is what I want to do with my career. How do I navigate through that?
There's a whole business behind fashion that
you have to understand the business. And I tell people, you were talking about this, you can be the most creative mind in the world. You can have the most beautiful pieces. You can have the nicest jewelry, nicest shoes, nicest whatever. If you don't know how to make that into a viable business where you're actually making money, you are dead in the water. So you have to understand that business. Creativeness is great, but you have to be able to understand the business model behind that in order to be able to survive, to get through the clutter amongst all the other designers, to keep relevant and to stay on top of it, but also to be able to generate an income out of it.
Yeah.
So sorry, we talked about sort of the relationship between the stylists, between organizations and the community. So at what point, or where do we hold local retailers accountable for working with local brands and local designers? Because getting a lot of these brands into the eyes of the general public is, I guess, one of the topics we're focusing on. And what responsibility do those guys play? Like, whether it's an anchor brand or whether it's a small shop on Queen Street, like, what's their responsibility to our local brands and local designers, from what your perspective is? Yeah,
well, I think, being able to collaborate is really important. So I have seen a lot of our local designers actually in some of the retail stores. So they are supporting it, which is great. Sometimes it's based on commission. So sometimes they won't purchase the products offhand, but it could be based on commission, which is still like, at least you're getting your foot in the door.
Consignment is great.
Yeah.
Consignment is great, and being able to work on commission is great because at least you're getting your product exposed to a different audience. But being, part of the reason, again, why we do have FGI and we do these networking events is because it's a great opportunity for you to meet a retail owner, to be able to say, hey, can I showcase my stuff in your store? Can we work together to do a unique collaboration that hasn't been done before? And there's some really great brands that we have within our family that are already doing collaborations together, and they produce these, limited collection pieces or these capsule collections. So I think there's a great opportunity to be able to do that. So I encourage that because I think that's the only way to grow is, you see like big brands doing it all the time. Like H&M does collaborations every year with a designer. Every year.
Yeah.
So now you even see the big stores doing that. So being able to kind of take that business model and doing it with the small stores with retail, I think is just as important.
So, sorry, we're gonna...
No, I'm just...
Because, it's hard because I'm facing this direction, so I don't know if you're about to speak, so I apologize.
Okay, listen, I understand. You are in between two gorgeous women, okay? It's a tough life. It's a tough
can't deny this, the comment being made. Okay?
But for the first time, you will not make fun of me of of me for that comment. I'm so happy that you're here.
You lucked out. It's because of our present company. I'm being nice to you today.
Just ask the question.
Now I lost my train of thought of the question I was going to ask because I had something very important that was in line with this. So what I wanted to touch on was, so with the inconsistencies with our fashion week and our ability to showcase some of these brands on the runway, how do you think that Toronto as an industry can grow to become the New York or the London or the Paris? Because their fashion weeks are a big part of their success, right? And we've had that inconsistency in some of those challenges.
Right.
So is that something, do you think, that we'd ever be able to get to where we have that consistency back? Or what is our alternative to become a fashion hub and be recognized as that in Toronto? Because like you said, we have amazing talent. Talent is not the issue.
No, talent's definitely not the issue. I think really, I mean, unless we start getting sponsorship dollars again, which I think are going to be a bit of a struggle, because again, back then there wasn't as much social media. So now sponsors are using their dollars towards more social media and getting bloggers and doing collaborations with that. So they're utilizing their money in a different way as opposed to supporting events. So I think, with that in mind, either it's one of two things. It's either going to be the sponsors reinvesting in our fashion industry and being able to support these events in order to be able to fund them, or it's us providing a collaboration. So all of our organizations coming together. So, whether it's like Yorkville Village, getting together with FGI, getting together with CAFA, getting together with African Fashion Week, Indigenous Fashion Week, and all of us, with Fashion Arts Toronto, with Startup Fashion Week,
Are we hearing some hints of things that are going on in the background?
We're working on it. That's what I'm trying to do,
Yes.
And it's interesting because I literally, as soon as I got my assignment and I was officially announced, I'm not kidding you, within the first week, I sent out the email to those groups and I said, let's all sit together because we're in a really unique position too, in the fact that all of us are happen to be women. Yeah. And we're all leading these.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and we're all leading these amazing organizations. So Startup Fashion Week and Fashion Arts Toronto and myself and Catholic, we're all really powerful women that are leading these amazing organizations in the fashion industry. So how can we all sit down at the table, figure out ways that we can really build an amazing community and keep Canada on the map and celebrate Canadian retailers and designers and entrepreneurs, and making sure that we continuously showcase and celebrate our designers and being able to not only just give them a platform, whether it's a unified platform or not, but being able to provide some ideas of ways that we can collaborate to provide an opportunity for them to continue to be strong and growing in our industry.
I was going to ask about the future, but you can
continue.
Yeah. You can continue?
Are you waiting for me? No, go.
I was like dancing like this.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead with your future question.
So keeping this in mind, let's say now, and I love the fact that, like you said, it's all women.
Yes.
Right, and I love that we have that growth and that opportunity to do so, and it's about time that we are more in the forefront of these things. Yeah. How do you see the future of it happening? So let's say we all sit down on this table.
Yes.
And we're like, let's do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get very dramatic.
I know, right?
Let's
do this.
I love this idea. I love the fact that it is female driven. I love the fact that we have this huge platform to almost restart, rebuild, and build a new home for fashion, right?
For sure.
And that's so exciting. So I am very excited about it.
It's very empowering.
And very passionate.
Yeah,
it's incredible. I didn't know that. That's very nice.
Like if you look at Startup Fashion Week, if you look at Fashion Arts Toronto, you look at CAFA, you look at myself, like all of us are Indigenous Fashion Week. Like we're all women that are leading these organizations.
Even African Fashion Week, it's I forgot her name, but it's
all of us.
They're all there.
So
all women.
Yeah. Female empowerment right there. It's best.
I was waiting for the Broadway hands to come up.
Well, if you need a cheerleader for this, you know who to call.
So I think just we'll end up with some closing thoughts, and we always let Rashi go last because she usually has a whole bunch of things to say.
Right. No. It will be Klaudia.
We can probably walk away and come back. So just you've given us a sort of a really good picture of the landscape of the fashion industry in Toronto, what's been happening, what's happening now, what potentially could happen in the future, and the direction that it's going in. The collaborations are amazing to hear that the different groups are looking to get together. So if you had to sum it up in a couple of words to say, here's where we are and here's where we're going, how would you describe that?
Well, I mean, again, I refer to my three words of really just being able to elevate and educate and empower, and I think that's the direction that we're going. I think our goal as a community, as an organization, even nationally, just as a whole, I think that's what we need to do. We need to, all of us, whether it's just through FGI or whether it's all of these organizations as a whole, we all need to elevate not only just our organizations, but our community, and then being able to educate our consumers to buy locally, to support locally, to continuously educate themselves about all of the local designers so that they know that, certain designers are Canadian based or certain retailers are Canadian based, and then just being able to empower one another. So, whether it's through networking, whether it's through collaborations, whether it's through consignment or commission, of being able to, support one another on the retail front, but really being able to empower one another through different channels as well. So that's the three main core values and beliefs that I truly believe in for this year and want to continue to push through.
Oh, I mean,
absolutely.
So you're
well, to be fair, I loved our conversation. I think it's so aligned with where the future of fashion is, and I still believe that we can be on that international map. It's
100%.
We just need to sit on that table.
Well, there's no one way to do it, and that's why we're having this conversation, to show that there's many ways to go about that, to make us that.
It's just that we need to be open. We need to keep our egos outside the door, and we need to just be like, okay, you know what? Like you said, we're all women. We're all fabulous at what we do. Let's take it to that next level, and I really, really think we can. So, more power to us.
All right, so thank you for tuning in. We're going to take some time and walk around the shoe closet and enjoy the museum that it is. Thank you, Klaudia, for allowing us to enter your happy place.
Thank you.
It's now our happy place.
That's it. More than I spend any time.
And we'll catch you guys next week. Bye. Hey guys, thank you for watching that podcast or that video. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more of us and see some of our behind the scenes stuff, subscribe below.
Yes, hit that little red button thingy that's over there and hit subscribe and keep following us for a lot more cool fun stuff.
Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you soon.